It comes down to this Saturday at the MCG. It will be Geelong taking on Brisbane to see who wins the 2025 AFL Premiership. Now, these two teams have played each other 3 times this season. First in round 3, where Brisbane won by 9 points at the Gabba. Then in round 15, down in Geelong, where Brisbane won by 41 points. And then only just a couple weeks ago, in the qualifying final at the MCG, Geelong won by 38 points. Now, Geelong did it a bit easier than Brisbane, winning the qualifying final against Brisbane, as I mentioned, and then beating Hawthorn by 5 goals to make the grand final. Whereas Brisbane, after their loss against Geelong, they had to beat Gold Coast at the Gabba and then pull off an amazing win against Collingwood at the MCG. These have been arguably the 2 best teams heading into the grand final, and both teams have won premierships in the last few years, whereas Brisbane won last year and Geelong back in 2022. But both teams have had some injury concerns going into this grand final. Geelong will be without Tom Stewart due to concussion that he suffered last week, whereas Brisbane will be without Jared Berry, where he popped out his shoulder against Collingwood in the preliminary final. I think it's the second time he's done that in 4 weeks. And Lachie Neale has miraculously returned from a calf injury. Should he play? I'm not too sure if he should. If he's not 100%, I don't think they should give the chance and take the risk. I'll give you a prime example. Last week when Collingwood, where Scott Pendlebury actually kind of did his calf right before the start of the game and he decided to keep playing. And then within a few minutes, he was subbed out due to that injury. Now the risk is, if he's not 100% Lachie Neale and he does his calf again, you already lose a player, it's just not going to be ideal, and you really want them to be as fit as possible for these games. And he also had a groin issue, I believe, before the final series too, so he's actually going in quite underdone, so it's a bit of a risk if it's worth taking for Brisbane. Games are won and lost in the midfield, and this game will be no exception, whereas 2 really good midfields will be going head-to-head. You've got Geelong, and it's led by Bailey Smith, Max Holmes, and Tom Atkins. All 3 have been very good this year, and the unbelievable performance of Patrick Dangerfield last week just adds a bit more firepower to that midfield, and we're expecting Dangerfield will play more midfield in this grand final. And the way he played last week, if he plays like that, watch out Brisbane. The Lions will have Lachie Neale, not going to be 100%, but they do have Hugh McCluggage, who has been outstanding this year. They've got Josh Dunkley, they've got the Ashcroft brothers, and they've got players like Bailey that can go through the middle as well. So there's going to be some really good battles. But I think one key matchup in the midfield, which I believe is going to happen, is Usha Mullen to go and tag Hugh McCluggage. Now in the qualifying final, Hugh McCluggage was actually tagged out by Mullen, only having 14 disposals, which is, I believe, is one of his lowest since the opening round of 2023. So it's been a long time for McCluggage, and he obviously responded with a brilliant game against Gold Coast and then a 37 possession game against Collingwood. Clearly, he's very important to the team, but it's not just McCluggage has to do well, it is the rest of that midfield. And for Geelong, it's about Bailey Smith, Max Holmes. You know they can play well. We know Dangerfield can dominate. But Tom Atkins, how underrated has he have been in this last few years? He's been outstanding, especially last week. Shut out Jai Newcomb and was able to get the footy himself and really help that midfield, and he could be key as well for this game too. Geelong's forward line is dangerous. We know about Jeremy Cameron. He's kicked 88 goals so far. Can he kick 12 in the grand final? Very unlikely. As I've mentioned about Dangerfield being a midfielder, but as a forward, he's been so dangerous. Shannon Neal has had a breakout year. Tyson Stengle's been solid. Also, Brad Close has been good too. And Graham Myers still been solid as well. So a very good forward line from Geelong. The Brisbane defence, still very solid without pain for this with injury, but they still have Harris Andrews. You got Starcevic and Leicester, very good defenders. Gardner's even done a good job there. And then the rebounding defence of Dane Zorko, who has been outstanding again this year. And Jasper Fletcher, he has been great off there as well. It's going to be a really good battle in that Geelong forward line against that Brisbane defence. On the other end, we know how good Geelong's defence is, but without Tom Stewart, does leave a little bit of a hole into that team and a bit of an injury trouble with Jack Henry. He did do his foot in the last week's game. He didn't look fit. So we'll see if he gets up for this game. But the emergence of Zach Guthrie off halfback has been great. You got Lawson Humphries, who's been very solid too. And then players like O'Sullivan, he is just slotted in very nicely along with DeConey. So it's still a very solid backline. And with Reece Stanley returning into the side, that will mean that Mark Blitzars will go back into defence. It's a very handy player to have who can play anywhere, but I would think he'll play in defence for the grand final and be second ruck. Brisbane do have some good small forwards led by Zach Bailey. You've got Cole Lohman, Callum Archie, and Charlie Cameron. And they do have a lot of young key forwards led by Logan Morris, who's kicked over 50 goals for a 20-year-old. Very impressive. And they've been given Ty Gallup a crack, and he was good against Collingwood. Kicked 3 goals, took some great contested marks. See if he can do that in the grand final. Could be very handy for his side. It's going to be a very interesting matchups in that side of the ground. It's going to be a good game of footy this. But my tip for the grand final, I've got Geelong winning this. They have been solid all year. They just play a very good system led by Chris Scott. Their midfield is good. Their forward line is very dangerous. If any of them get off the chain, it could be very dangerous for Brisbane. And the defence is still solid without Tom Stewart. Feel like a couple of the Brisbane players might be a bit underdone. So I've got Geelong winning this by 19 points. And my prediction for Norm Smith, I'm going with Max Holmes. I think his run and dash in the midfield, he might go off half-back, who knows. I just think he's going to get a bit of the footy, and his run and dash is going to be so key to this game. So I have him winning the Norm Smith. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think Geelong will win, or do you think Brisbane will win? Comment down below, and comment also who you think is going to win the Norm Smith too. Winning the premiership is an amazing achievement as a team sport, but sometimes there are some individual accolades that some individuals love winning, and one of them is the Brownlow medal. If you click this video here, you can see the top 5 most unexpected Brownlow wins.